The Florida Community of Mindfulness is happy to make these talks available to you. If you find this talk to be a benefit, please consider making a donation to support us. You'll find a donation button on the Talks section of our website, floridamindfulness.org. Thank you, and may you be happy and free of suffering.
So first, we observe this, and then we come to the conclusion it all is dreamlike. And now it's time to shoot the arrow, right? Pretending we're doing archery. Except in the next stanza, he does something incredible. He says, aim your arrow toward yourself. Now look at that. Look in that direction. That's where you want to penetrate. That's where you want to, that's your target. So we think our target's out here, don't we? We spent our whole life looking out here. And now he says, look here. Examine, investigate. And then when you've come to the end of your investigation, you have some kind of, even if it's a cognitive understanding that there's nothing intrinsically there, and you've kind of, at least intellectually realized whatever's there has no color, shapes, etc. Then the next instruction is rest in that. Just rest. Let the mind be at ease and just rest in this. And thoughts, feelings, perceptions, whatever arises, just let it. You're at ease. Don't be bothered. Just rest. And you hold that as long as you can. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, 5 days. So you begin to experience your unconditioned mind, just as it is. Okay? And then when the whole process starts up again, you start up again. Again, this is a deep practice. Most of us don't begin. This is sort of on our wisdom path. But here it is in this text. So we have to look into it. And then his instruction in what he calls post-meditation. Post-meditation meant for these characters who spent years in retreat. He says, so when you, post-meditation, sort of like when you get up from your mat, or when you leave your cave, or when you leave your hut, or whenever. That's post-meditation. He says, well, in this translation, he says, be like a child of illusion. A more traditional translation, that's sort of a modern translation. A more traditional translation is, and be like a sorcerer or a magician. A magician is someone who can create illusions, right? And many people, if you've ever been in the company of a great magician or an illusionist, it looks real, doesn't it? But the sorcerer, the magician, the illusionist, is not fooled by their tricks. They know it's an illusion. They know it's a trick. Is that clear? So the instruction is, so when you rise from your meditation cushion and you go around the world, realize that everything you see is just being created by your mind, processed by your mind. Empty, impermanent, dreamlike. So that's what's called the post-meditation instruction. So again, for those of you in the intensive, there'll be a talk, I think, on Monday. We'll start getting into the actual practices related to compassion and how to live an awakened life in the world. But it's important that we understand that this makes it all easier. This makes it much easier to live in this world the way it is and not be sucked in to the drama. So I want to spend some time before we have closing circle processing this with you. This, for some of you, this could be radically new information. It is subject very easily to misinterpretation. So I want to make sure that the teachings that have been shared today, again, very simple. Again, these are things that people practice for years. So for those who are going, whatever, that's fine. You know, for some, you may be practicing other things and working on other things, and this level of practice may seem far away. That's fine. You can go back to whatever you've been practicing. But it's important that we understand that at the heart of Buddhism, the heart of the Buddha's awakening, is this very radical understanding of the nature of experience. So even just if it's just an article of faith, so to speak, one hasn't had the realization yet. That's okay. So I am open to think about, reflect on the teachings and the practices you've done earlier since I last saw you on your own in the guided meditation. Your own experiences you've been having, trying to do, integrate. Does it make sense? Or is it confusing? Or is it difficult? Or is it upsetting? Or is it... So I'm open to any questions. Please check your experience. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 You what? Uh-huh. You grok it. I haven't heard that in about 40 years. Yeah, again, as it's... Oh, so the question is... Thank you for reminding me, because I got to repeat it for those who can't hear, and also people on live stream. So the question is, been doing the practice, intellectually I get it, and I've had a little glimpses, right? And so, how does one continue? Well, let me respond in two ways. First of all, these are the wisdom teachings of Buddhism, right? They are just part of a package. And we have to be careful because we are people, we like, we like smorgasbords, We like menus. We like the freedom to what? To pick and choose. We want to pick and choose our Dharma even. You see? And that's, again, I think a lot of where people don't get a lot of success, so to speak, in Dharma. So it's a whole meal. Sort of like as my Tibetan teacher used to say, he says, somebody gives you a book, right? Begin in the beginning and go chapter to chapter, from the introduction, to the climax, to the end. Don't pick and choose. Don't go right to the last chapter, or don't pick out your chapters, because you're going to miss what it's really about. Okay, so these wisdom, as was said earlier, are at the heart of it, the heart of the view. But there are many other teachings and practice which are very important, such as selflessness, such as loving kindness and generosity. And these practices are considered actually almost like not the prerequisite, but they soften the mind. Many of our minds are very rigid. Right? We're very rigid with our beliefs about ourselves and the world, etc., And so we want to soften. It's like gardening, right? If you've ever gardened and you have hard packed soil, right? You can put the seeds down, but they're not going to grow. You got to soften up the soil. You got to turn it over. You got to put additives in, right? So things can grow. And so there are many other things that are part of our practice that will help the flowers of wisdom grow. Okay, so it's not just this one thing. Okay, that's important. The other thing is, we begin where we are. Just to even have a tiny glimpse is good. At least you go, oh, perhaps this really is true. Even if, we often say, even if, you've heard about the vast blue sky, but you live in a part of the country where it's always cloudy, so you think it's just what people say. But then one day the clouds part, even just for a minute, and you see the vast blue sky. Now you know what? It's true. Even if the clouds come rolling back in, don't forget. And so you work over time to cultivate it. Here's a glimpse. There's a glimpse. But you begin to have more glimpses. And over time, the glimpses begin to make sense. Okay? The shades come up a little more. It's like that. The mind the mind is not a mind. You're learning that. There's no such thing as a mind. It's just a bunch of causes and conditions. And as we begin to change the causes and conditions, the quality of our mind changes. So it's a process. But there's one thing, there are two things that are short. The Buddha said everyone has the Buddha nature and everyone can attain Buddhahood if they do the practice. So if you do the practice, it's assured you'll come to realization. On the other side, if you don't do the practice, you can be assured you won't come to realization. So, it's all cause and effect in Buddhism. This is nothing esoteric, this is nothing metaphysical. It's very, in a certain sense, it's the scientific model. Yes. Okay? Any other questions? Think about your experience today. Yes. Well, stuck is a loaded word. Is there a better word than stuck? Or maybe that's all there is. Yeah, so, but again, there's a lot of talk, about the present moment. People have heard about the present moment. It's like a big deal, right? You want to live in the present moment. Is there really such a thing as a present moment? Has anybody found a present moment yet? I mean, I guess this is a present moment, right? But is there any, flashing sign to identify this as a present moment? So you can't even hold on to a thing called the present moment. Right? But, if we could say, you know, in terms of the world of appearances, what is real? Well, we could say this moment, which disappears as soon as I say it, has the semblance of a reality to it, right? Why? Because all my senses are present here. All my senses can perceive this moment, right? I see, I smell, I hear, I taste something. So in this moment, we are perceiving that this is the moment, right? But everything else is just imagination, what's appearing in our thoughts. That's just fabrication. So learning how to live in reality, which is really not a reality, but we call it a reality. And now you understand, for some of you why in Buddhism, you read the sutras, they say these bizarre things. This is this, but this is not this, and because it's not this, then it's this. And people go, what kind of gobbledygook is that? Because this is this, it's a not this, and because it's a not this, you can call it a this. Right? Because a present moment is really not a present moment, you can go ahead and call it a present moment. Because it's really not a present moment. It's only just a what? What in Buddhism we call, a designation, a labeling. Right? That's what we're doing. We know that in reality, there's no intrinsic thing he'll call the flower. Right? It appears right in this moment as a flower, but we know there's really no intrinsic thing here called a flower. But yet, if somebody says to Fred, look at the flower, I look over there. Because I know that is designated in the world of language as a what? As a flower. But I know it's not inherently a real thing. So when it changes, as it will change, right? It'll wilt, it'll die. It doesn't disturb me, does it? Because why? Because I know it never really existed in any real way. And that is true for everything. Our bodies, relationships, the world, the whole thing is just insubstantial in any real way. So of course it'll just endlessly change, right? Thank you. Yes. Hmm. Yeah, so how old are you? Good for you. Look at her asking these deep questions. How many people here when they were 24 asked about meaning? You did. Well, maybe that's why you're here today, and most of your peers aren't. It could be. Yeah, we know where they are today. They're probably up at the brewery up the street there. Yeah, so the question is, good question. So where does one find meaning in life, right? So you're Erica. Where do you find meaning in life? Have you found meaning in life yet? Where do you find meaning in life? In love. Hmm. 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 Yeah. Hmm. I think you got the answer. Yeah, again, that's why I said earlier, and it's a sophisticated way of looking. That's why in Buddhism there are these teachings of, like we've gotten today, emptiness, right, of everything. Well, what's the danger if that's your only approach? The danger is what Erica just said. It's like, so you mean like nothing has any meaning? And from a certain point of view, you're absolutely right. Ultimately, it has no meaning. It is just what it is. And yet, there's a problem with living that way, isn't that? So in Buddhism, that's called nihilism, like belief in nothing. Okay? Danger, because you can be very what? Indifferent, cut off, dispassionate. So what if they're dying? Right? So what if they're suffering? It's not real. See, you can see the danger. Yeah. So that's why in Buddhism we have this absolute and relative bodhicitta. From the relative point of view, yeah, it does matter. You see, the way I often look at it, it's sort of like take a cockroach. I happen to see a dead cockroach at my house today. We live in Florida, so we all know about cockroaches, right? Now, from the point of view of the unfolding of the universe, right? The movement of the spheres through space. Does the life of a cockroach matter? And you'd say what? Absolutely not. Meaningless, right? See, that's big picture, okay? But we're forgetting one thing. What's that? From the point of view of that little cockroach, whether it lives or dies has meaning, okay? Now, the challenge is how do you integrate both? Do you understand? So it's both and. And again, Buddhist thought is it's a non-dualistic way of looking at the world. Things are both and. Our a dualistic way of thinking is what? It's either or, right? It's either got to be big picture or little picture. It's either got to be, everything in my life is really important, or nothing's important. So how do you find that middle ground where it's important and yet it's not important? It's a big deal, but it's really not a big deal. This moment is our only moment, and yet it has no substance to it. So when you know that, it doesn't give you a pass, you see. You go, this moment has no substance, right? It's impermanent. So what if I show up as a complete jerk? Say whatever I want to say. You see the danger? Yeah, so it takes time and practice to find that middle ground. Does that explain things, Erica? Good. Here we kind of do that. Other questions? Think about what you've heard today, the practices. You can choose what? Well, what? Yeah. Exactly. You're exactly right. So the question is, so therefore we want to have a good dream. And I would say, what's your name? Lily. So again, from the point of view of the big picture, it's all a dream, right? Whether you're having a good dream or a bad dream, it doesn't matter, because when you wake up, you realize what? It's all a dream. It all was a dream. Now, but remember Lily when she was in the dream? When she was in the dream, did it matter to her whether she had a good dream or a nightmare? Yes. So it's sort of the same thing what Erica said. Yeah. From the point of view of the ultimate nature of thing, the absolute nature, it's all dreams. Good dreams, bad dreams, right? From the point of view of the whole universe, planets come, planets go, right? New ones are born, old ones die, causes and conditions. One runs into the other one, right? Right? From that point of view, the universe couldn't care less, could it? What happens here on Earth? True, of course. But from the point of view of those living down the Earth, it'd be nice to continue a little bit longer, right? So it's both and. And again, the challenge is, to live in that both and. Yes, go on, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so this is the practice of Buddhism, to understand these things and to practice these things and to realize, make them real for you. It's not like you just walk, you come to a talk or you do a day of mindfulness like this and you walk away. No, it's something that has to be worked. Why is that? Because we have thought and seen things and acted in such a different way. And unfortunately, that's for many of us, that's kind of what we're habituated to. It's like, what do you call it? Anybody here ever know anybody who's been a long-term addict or alcoholic? You ever know anybody like that? Yeah. So even though today they may make a decision to be sober, does that mean like their life is from now on a bed of roses? Why not? Why not? Because, yeah, and they're habituated to all kinds of unwholesome ways of being in the world, and they don't know a lot of wholesome ways to be in the world. So they have to go into what's called what? Recovery. And they're in recovery for what? They work their recovery program for a couple of weeks, and then they're done. Is that how it works? Right? We laugh. Why do we laugh? Because people are in recovery for how long? Lifetime. And again, various degrees of it, but yeah, it takes a while to heal and transform. Because why? Because we don't. Because one, we've done it. We've done it in such an unwholesome or toxic way, right? But also, we don't know another way. So it's a lot of unlearning plus a lot of learning. And then it's a lot of practice every day. Anybody know anything about the recovery, the program? What do they say? One lifetime at a time? One decade at a time? What do they say? One day. Why do they say that? Because that's practice, right? In Buddhism, we say one thought at a time. That's how we practice, one thought at a time.
There's some questions from Zoom.
Forgive me for forgetting. Yeah, sorry.
So they're asking, is an idea non-existent? Without an idea, can anything be created or exist beyond the physical world? Beyond the physical world.
So the question is, are ideas real?
Yes. I think so.
Well, could you ask that person, or I mean, they're online right now? Or right, just ask. I'll ask that person. Just look into their mind and posit an idea, and then look right at it. Is it a real, self-existent, permanent thing? That idea, whatever idea it is. When you look into your mind, are ideas real things? We can all join us here. Everybody just, put an idea, one of those ideas you really love. Perhaps you have ideas you really believe in strongly, right? Just bring it up into your mind. Close your eyes, bring that idea into your mind, and then look right at it the way we've been doing. What do you see when you look directly at that idea? Do you see something? Solid, permanent, real? I mean, I am not a bearer of bad news. I just want to get that straight. I'm just bringing reality, a reality that, people on this path have come to realize going back to the Buddha. And it can be just replicated over and over. Now, that doesn't mean that in the world of thought we don't have ideas, right? And there are good ideas and bad ideas. Is that true? Yeah. But we're not, see, that's where we've got to be careful. And that's why I want to have this conversation. We're saying intrinsically ideas have no substance. They're not real. And yet in the world of ideas, we can play with them. Good ones have certain outcome, bad ones have other outcomes. But our attachment to them, right? Why do people hate each other? Why do countries go to war? Why do Democrats hate Republicans and Republicans hate Democrats? Because they believe their own ideas and the ideas of the others are real, solid things. And they're attached to them. As Thich Nhat Hanh said when he wrote the poem about the Vietnam, one of his poems, he said, what's that one about the brother? He said, something like they have an idea that they're killing the enemy when they're actually killing their brother. Right? They have an idea. We put a label, enemy, and then we can kill them, harm them, lock them up, torture. We can do all kinds of things. Because of what? Because of an idea. But when we live in reality, we see, oh, that's a human being just like me. Just like me. They have their ideas, I have my ideas. We could talk about it. We could argue about it if we want, but they're not, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, they're not things to die for. Why not? Because they're intrinsically not real. They're just fabricated. I mean, it's like people who are holding on to their ideas, they don't like to hear that. Right? Because they like to believe what? What? Their ideas are real. And not only they're real, they're right. Which is another idea. I mean, ignorance is pervasive. Just feeds on itself. Yes, sir. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So this is, it's, all right, so the question is, earlier this morning I talked about the lion versus the dog. And the question is, can I elaborate more about that? And you gave some examples of mental formations or emotionality or, yeah. So this is deep Dharma, let me just say. And so you can't apply, it's Dharma, Buddhist Dharma is not one shoe fits all feet. You've got to make sure you're getting fitted for the right shoe. That's why it's important to have a teacher to kind of help, that's why it's like good when you go in the shoe store to maybe get somebody to help you, right? Just go in there and, pick out the one shoe you like the way it looks, but you haven't had it fitted, you might get home and have a little problem, right? So it's like that. So basically what it's saying, Dragos, and you're a physician, so I think you can understand this. Like I would say, mostly you deal with, I don't know your exact practice, but mostly you deal with symptoms. People come to you with symptoms, right? And you have the capacity in your book of tricks to treat their symptoms. Is that true? For a lot of them, okay. But I would imagine your medical acumen doesn't stop at treating symptoms. You probably also want to go to the source, or else, again, if you want your patients to keep coming back, you could just keep treating the symptoms, right? And you got a good living, right? You know what I mean. But if there's a possibility, you'd like to go to the source, because when you cut it at the source, then the symptoms will go away. They don't have to be treated anymore. Is that true? Okay. So this is just that. One of the epithets of the Buddha was the great physician, they called him. And they actually used the analogy, that, we are the patient, our delusions and, these are our sicknesses, right? We go to the Buddha, we go to the teacher, they're the physician, and they give us medicine, right? And if we take the medicine, we will get better, right? So what does this mean? It means we know something's wrong, right, in our life, right? We have this, like you say, we have emotional afflictions, we have behavioral afflictions, we have cognitive afflictions, we have relationship afflictions, right? Lots of afflictions in our life, in the life of the world, right? Which there's 1,000,001 ways to treat these days, right? Endless solutions, right? One solution is what? Yeah. I'll take away my pain. I get it. I'm suffering. I'll just find something to alleviate the suffering directly. I'll take a legal fix. I'll take an illegal fix. I'll take a prescription. All kinds of ways, right? Yeah. So that's one way. The world has millions of ways. I'll elect a new president. I'll get a new party into the. That's another way we think we will usher in the end of human suffering. Right? Change the political system. Change the political people. Right? How to be happy. I'll get a new relationship. I'll get a new job. I'll get a new house. I'll get a... Right? We are endlessly manipulating, right, symptoms. Never going to what? The source. That's the lion. So the lion's gaze, it's called in Buddhism, right? We want to develop the lion's gaze, right? We want to look, when we turn, right, the stick flying by our head, these are the symptoms, right? These are the annoying things that just keep happening. Right? The thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the stories, the dramas, the issues, right? Endlessly arising, nonstop, one after the other. Every time you think you finally got it together, then another one comes. You forgot about this one. Get some space in your mind now to have another one come up. It's endless, right? Are you with me, Dragos? And one day you go, hold on, where are these things all arising from? Right? So this is the fundamental difference of a spiritual path is from ordinary paths is usually we are looking outside ourselves or in the superficial of life for the answers, right? But now we are actually looking within our own mind for the source of our suffering. Which is, again, no different than a physician going, God, there's got to be something deeper going on in this person's body or mind, that's causing this. And if I could just get at that and treat that successfully, they don't need to come back, right? So that's the lion's gaze. Now, it doesn't mean that if a patient comes into you and they're suffering, you don't ignore their suffering and just go, right? In the meantime, you may give them what? Medicine to treat their symptoms, right? That's the compassionate thing to do, isn't it? Right? But you're looking to go to the cause at the same time. The cause of our suffering is we are deluded. We think what is unreal is real. We think what is impermanent is permanent. Right? We think that things are self-existent, that there's a me here and a you there. Right? This is in Buddhism that's called delusion. We don't see clearly, even though we think we do. As I said earlier today, we look up here, this all looks so real and solid. It's hard to believe in another 30 minutes we won't be here. You come back here for 45 minutes, there'll be nobody here. Gone. Right? Is that true? It's true. This only appears real in that solid way. Does that help you or did I miss it? Yeah, so it's like that. It's not something we don't know, but it's just, so that's the lion's gaze. We're looking, where's this stuff coming from? What's the source of my suffering? Not what's my suffering like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? What's the story behind it? But what's the underlying story? Yes, sir. Good. Yeah. Yeah, we want to help people as much as we can, right? And some people are ready to maybe look a little deeper, right? But I would imagine many of your patients, if you gave them Thich Nhat Hanh's book, they'd probably leave it in the waiting room or something. That's also true. So we can't give it to everybody. Yeah. But that's good. Oh, yeah. Yes, and then we'll stop in a few minutes and have our closing. Yeah, so again, when it says be a child of illusion, so illusion means what? Let's say your mother and father are illusions, right? And you're their child, Misty. So to be a child of illusion means what? That you're what? And so when you go around the world, you understand that. It doesn't mean you're not going around the world, doing this, doing that, fulfilling your roles and responsibilities in life. We're doing that. But you know that it's all an illusion. Now again, that you got to be careful. That's not nihilism. It's like it's all illusion, nothing matters. Right? Again, remember the woman who sawed in half. If there really was a woman being sawed in half, that would hurt. Okay? It's an illusion. That woman, even though her toes seem to be wiggling and her head's over there, remember? It's just So it, in case anybody really thought, I don't know, there really was a woman. Yeah, you might have been carrying that one for decades, right? Can't believe that guy just saw that woman in half. Yeah, so again, it means that we participate fully in the world, but we understand this illusory nature of experience. It has no permanent, solid substance to it. Even if people believe it does, it still doesn't make it true. I was telling somebody the other day, there is this example of, in the Bodhisattva path, why when you go, well, if you really understand everything's a dream, then why would you help anybody? Because it's all dreamlike. Their suffering is dreamlike. It's all self-created. Their suffering. Why? And they give the example of, I just was saying this to somebody the other day. The example is you're in a room and there's somebody sleeping, right? And all of a sudden they cry out in great agony, right? Wow. And maybe they're crying or they're moaning. And you turn on the light and you look over and you see what? They're sleeping. You got up and go, ooh, and you realize they're sleeping. They're just having a what? A dream. Okay? So there's your wisdom, right? See, there's your wisdom. That's the wisdom side. You go, oh, even though they are suffering, it's not real, right? It's just their own mind is creating their suffering. Is that clear? Now, the interesting thing is, what do you do next? Do you roll over and go back to sleep? It's just a dream. They're just dreaming. No. We go over there and we shake them, don't we? We want to wake them up out of their dream, even though we know it's a dream, right? They are suffering in their dream. So the compassion of a bodhisattva is natural. It's even stronger because they're really not suffering, but they really think they are. And it's very real to them. Just like a person having a nightmare, their nightmare is real to them. Right? You're terrified. Right? You're angry. You're all kinds of emotionality in the dream because you think it's real, but it's not real. And much of our suffering is just self-created. It's not real. But yet, because we've created it and we suffer from what we've created, like we suffer from a dream. So So luckily we have people in the world who come around and try to wake us up. But some of us are very deep sleepers. I think you know, no matter how often we shake them. You know, some people just will not wake up. That's why the Zen masters of old, got these sticks and shouts. When you read about the Zen master, you go, wow, really a bunch of brutal guys, always hitting people or shouting at them. Well, maybe there was a reason, they were just trying to wake them up. Any other questions? Yeah, so why don't we just go right into our closing circle. Just kind of turn and let's face each other. Sort of this side of the room, face that side of the room, that side of the room, face that side of the room. What are we going to do? You're going to hold it? I thought we don't pass anymore. Oh, Alex isn't here, so we can pass. We'll figure out the dynamics. We've had medical professionals who are concerned when we pass the mic. They think we're just passing around infectious diseases. So, and there's some truth to that probably, especially this time of year. So maybe you just go around and hold it, right? So this is, we have a lot of people here. We only have 20 minutes. So just close your eyes a moment and just reflect on today, right? All kinds of teachings, meditations, experiences. In a certain sense, we've all been through the same schedule, the same series of events, but your experience, everybody's experience is unique, different. And so to just review your day in this personal way, and if you ask yourself, what is to me the most significant thing that I've gotten from today that I want to take home with me? Now again, it could be a bunch of things. They may come up, but we don't have a lot of time. So if you would say, what is the most important thing that I want to remember, I want to take home with me, I want to take into my life, what would that be? And turn it into a couple of sentences. And we'll just go around the room and we'll all just share with each other. And if somebody else has said it already, that's good. You still say it because this is your experience. And don't think about how other people might respond to what you say. We want to get over that one. Just what's true for you. As you review the day, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be anything earth-shattering. Could be, could not be. But as you review the day, this day-long retreat, what has been most significant, meaningful to you, and that you want to, you don't want to leave here. You want to take it home with you into your life, home, work, spiritual, material, whatever you want to call it, that you want to bring with you today. And then because of time and numbers, it'd probably be just simpler if, Dan, you just kind of walked around with your mic and sort of like somebody interviewing, and maybe just begin with Angie and again, whatever you want to say, you say. So everybody have the question and just, take time to reflect.
So just deep gratitude for the clarity of pointing that arrow always this way. Thank you.
Well, hearing the lion's gaze again was really interesting because I never thought about it as the sticks just keep coming. So just being more aware of looking.
For me today, the most powerful thing was that everything is a dream.
Stop chasing the sticks.
The beautiful freedom and awareness, and just continue practicing. Learning how to be a sorcerer.
Addiction to thoughts and persistent practice.
Remembering the lion's gaze and not the dog running after the sticks.
Quieting the mental narrative.
Quieting what?
Quieting the mental narrative.
This is a journey, not a destination, and a lot can be resolved by stop chasing the sticks and adopting the lion's gaze as a society.
I really like the story you told about Thich Nhat Hanh and how the strength of the negative ideas, how that can be impactful.
I think I realized I also can only see in glimpses still, so I have to be the doctor and the patient at the same time.
Just remembering to see the dreamlike quality of phenomena. Trying to keep that in my thoughts.
I'm leaving with a deeper integration of the teachings and the clearest explanation of Be a Child of Illusion, which was very helpful.
Just laying a good foundation for your practice. Just continue to do that. That's what I'm taking away.
Today I was able to achieve several hours of sustained peace and serenity, and so now I know I can do it, and I'm deeply grateful for that. So thank you.
I feel I've been drinking out of a fire hose today, and I'm just sort of marinating in all of it. Thanks.
Just feeling a lot of gratitude and very grounded in trying to build my foundation.
Relax. Life is like a dream.
Deep gratitude, Fred. And the practice is wonderful. The compassion is the only thing that we're going for.
The most important thing, the lion's gaze, and just resting the mind there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I want to take away the encouragement to continually watch my mind and look like a lion. Look like a lion. Look like a lion. Thank you, Dan.
I am happy to be here today.
I feel more than a glimpse of clarity and understanding of meaning and purpose of life today. And I think all of us should go home with a desire to go on this path, you know. We might get addicted, which is not a good thing, but maybe it is, you know. Thank you, Fred. Awesome. The lion and the dog was a good one.
I agree. I want to thank Angie for her guided meditation because I got some insights that I'll be taking away that I hadn't really realized before. To sit and observe.
Just how much this day has added to my understanding of the Lojong teachings, and specifically about the lack of any intrinsic nature of all phenomena and all experience. It's certainly deepened my understanding. Thank you.
The practice is just one thought at a time.
To make sure I'm shooting at the right target. That was very, very clear to me, so thank you, Fred.
And would like to say for those who feel in any way intimidated, I'm going through this for the second time, and I'll bet Sam here's the third time or fourth time. It just gets better. It gets more comprehensible. It's more liberating. So don't get discouraged. Just keep coming back.
The subtlety of the lead in the beginning of grounding in the body and then moving incrementally, one part of practice at a time, all the way up to the lion's gaze.
This is my first time at a retreat. Never thought I can stay calm and silent for so long. So that's something, I guess, one step closer to being a lion from the dog I am.
A deeper experience of the natural awareness.
I'm going to be taking away a renewed commitment to continuing on this path and appreciation for the dog and lion analogy.
Deep gratitude.
Deep gratitude. And I am the child of illusionist, and my cats will be my anchor to remember where to look. Thank you all.
The discussion regarding the dog and the lion, but I also want to remember that to not disrespect the dog. I think that they have a lot to teach us regarding loving kindness.
Again, I learned the real value of calm abiding and having an open mind and hearing the teachings, not necessarily the words, but I'm just kind of letting it absorb.
I'm taking away the importance of that grounding, the foundation, and using your breath to continue to bring yourself back to that strength. Thank you.
The concept of pointing the arrow back at yourself, I'm looking forward to incorporating that into practice.
Practicing becoming more aware when I'm actually chasing sticks, especially sticks of worry, and then really practice examining where they're coming from.
The lion's gaze, and then the both and when I think about the compassion side of things, remembering just like me.
I'm taking away the value of the Dharma talk to reinforce and deepen the readings in this intensive, and also the both and the glimpses of ultimate, and then the work of the relative bodhicitta.
Remembering the slogan trainings, very transformative practices of the slogans, very important, and the preliminaries and going through the direction of the teaching, and also resting in natural awareness is very healing. This is still beautiful.
This is my first time here. The physical location is very balancing, so it's awesome. I love that I just got to experience this with a bunch of strangers. I think that's amazing. And the experience has brought me a sense of equanimity, which is why I came. So thank you.
I'm going to take away just a renewed appreciation how freeing it can be to be able to simultaneously hold an absolute and a relative view.
I really don't know or understand much, so lighten up.
Yay, I'll second that. I love. I really liked the grape. Trying to describe the taste of a grape was very meaningful to me because awareness is so beyond concept, but it's hard to even explain that. And so, not being able to describe the taste of a grape was I never thought my mind was like a grape, but maybe it is. So, anyhow, thank you.
Real gratitude for the teachings, really helpful, like the grape and there's so many examples. But also, I practice alone a lot, and just it's so powerful to be with all of you. It was really lovely. I loved the lion's gaze, and I also loved the lion's gaze, and then the spilling of the tea, and how carefully Fred cleaned up the tea. So it was like ultimate and relative, like whoop. So thank you. It was lovely.
A lot of gratitude for today. I think soaking in both the meditation and the teachings just has provided my body with a amazing sense of calmness. But I'm not going to cling to it.
Child of illusion, sorcerer of illusion, or Harry Potter of illusion. I realize going back into the world, I'm going to be creating more delusions and be subject to them, but I'll hopefully be more aware when it's happening.
For me, it's the balance of it's not just enough to be in that spaciness. You have to use the compassion and the loving kindness.
The sequence between the two Lojongs of being the dreamlike quality of phenomena, turning the arrow, and then the nature of the mind. Those two, the sequence of it in practice was very clear to me, and I'll take that with me.
To keep in mind and to practice that things are both and versus my default mechanism of either or.
I thought the dog and the lion was good.
I feel like just a greater appreciation for a teacher that can explain these deep teachings to so many different levels of people. Just such a gratitude for that.
I appreciated the reminder that things are both and to keep the lion pointed in the right direction.
So, Ellen, if we're just going to hear from the people, they don't have to bow in, they can just sort of do like we've done here, just from one to the other. Oh, they got to type. I see. Well, maybe everybody could type their one sentence response and then Ellen can just read them. That's how it works, Ellen?
Yep. Yeah, I asked for some sharings. There was one person that's sharing, Andrew, you know nothing and you know everything. And for myself, that's pretty funny. And for myself, I would say I'm going to take the turning inward. That's really been helpful, especially the lion's gaze. And unborn awareness investigation. Someone else is sharing. And that's it for right now.
Ellen shared.
No, Carrie does not wish to share.
Dan?
I may have even misunderstood what you said, but I guess it doesn't matter. I found it really helpful when you said, you said you've got your ordinary thoughts and then look in a different place in your mind. That was helpful for me.
And last but not least.
Look inward and just rest in this.
There's a couple more.
Yes.
The concept of either or versus both and is wonderful. It is all important and it is not. And grounding in the body's awareness and turning towards that awareness to see what it is.
Well, good. So thank you all for sharing your wisdom. I mean, this really kind of makes it all real and egalitarian. Again, the important thing, as I always caution, is, it is possible that a day like this can become a discrete event because it has no solidity or permanence, as we now we know very well. It will fade. It will disappear like everything else. It can only be continued if we continue to cultivate it. So we need to understand that mindfulness, practice, understanding, they have to be constantly renewed. The more we renew them, the more alive they become in our life. If we don't renew them, they will fade like everything else fades. So that's the importance of practice. This is the importance of our own individual study, our own individual daily practice, and I think many of you understand the importance of community and Sangha and teacher and the whole thing to support us on our path of transformation. If we don't water these seeds, they will not grow. It's really almost as simple as that. So fortunately, we have great opportunities here in our community. So thank you all.